and then what Carmen just said reminded me of something about the lungs. I want to go back to that for just a second. So, in 1964 is when the Surgeon General came out and said, okay, we're going to put warning on tobacco products. Okay. Now, I don't really think that, again, that's because the Surgeon General cares about us, because there's lots of toxic products in our culture that bear no warnings. But it really, and I want to say it's quite possibly was from a result of a lawsuit that motivated that too. Because again, there's no warning labels on fast food. You just can't tell me that anyway. So, since 1964, and then especially with like the late 70s, the no smoking movement really began in the United States. Like when I spent time in Europe, it hasn't gone away. But I noticed a big drop in people who've used tobacco over my lifetime in the United States. I remember being in high school in the late 70s and remember the smoking is glamorous posters where they would take somebody who looked like they slept outside in the ditch, put them up against a brick wall and put a cigarette in their mouth and took a picture of them, and they're just like this, you know. And it would be like, smoking is glamorous. This is when it became a social movement. I don't want to have to smell your stinky smoke. Okay? As a result, tobacco sales and product use dropped by 30% in the United States since the 80s. So if tobacco is causing lung cancer and tobacco use has dropped by 30%, did lung cancer rates drop by 30%? They did not. So that's where it's like, well, wait a minute, you just said, I mean, if nuclear radiation is the cause of cancer and we shut down the nuclear power plant and stop the radiation, probably going to see the rates of cancer go away. But if they're saying this causes cancer and we've just reduced that cause by 30%, why are we not seeing a 30% reduction? And that's where I'm going to say, because that's the tobacco use or the toxin is masking the perceptual vitality or the landscape where people are in conflict about whether or not there's equality or unfairness in the world. Now, you might notice when people use tobacco like George Burns, he doesn't look like he's decompressing or he's processing. He looks like he's just simply enjoying his cigar. Where you might know people in your life that smoke that look like they are really in some kind of an internal like stress, you know. And so I'm going to say for those people, because we all know people that might have cigars a lot or smoke a lot. My grandfather smoked until he was 92. Now, he wasn't in the best of health. He had had some strokes, but he didn't die from lung cancer. He fell and punctured his ribs and got pneumonia at that age. But, and then other people can smoke and die in their 50s or 40s. And so for people that you might know that have died from respiratory illness, whether they smoked or not, you might want to take a look again at their terrain. Again, it's kind of like alcohol with the liver. People are using it to decompress from performance expectations. People are using their tobacco to decompress from the inequality or unfairness in the world. And so then when they get ill, the conventional thought is, oh, it's the toxin. No one looks any deeper.